Hi, Sugar Gliders. Here is your lesson on converting measurements. We did this in class. You have a worksheet that has two sides, and the left side we're going to convert large units to small units, and the right side we're going to convert small units to large units. In both of these conversions, what we're going to do is we're going to multiply, they're all going to be multiplication problems, by the ratio. So we need our conversion chart if you're not sure what the ratios are. So 2 feet equals blank inches is the first one, number one. You should know that 1 foot equals 12 inches, so it's pretty obviously that 2 feet equals 24 inches. But let's see how we set it up. If you look here, this is going to be the setup of all the problems. So when they get harder, you can refer back to how you did the easy ones. So 2 feet times, there's our multiplication problem. We need to know the ratio of inches to feet. So 12 inches in 1 foot. Now it's simply a multiplication problem. 2 times 12 over 1, and I don't need to put the 1 underneath because it still means 12, is 24. So I multiplied 2 times 12, so 2 feet equals 24 inches. Okay, so this is what your work should look like. It's a multiplication problem. We don't need our feet anymore. The next one. 3 yards equals blank feet. Again, this one's pretty obvious. If you know there's 3 feet in 1 yard, we know there must be 9 feet in 3 yards. So let's see how we're going to set it up. Again, this setup is important. You start with your 3 yards, and you're going to multiply it by the ratio, 3 feet to 1 yard. Now we're not going to have to worry about these yards anymore because we're converting to feet. So now my problem is 3 times 3, which equals 9. So 3 yards equals 9 feet. Okay, the next one, we are changing miles to feet. So our problem, that was number 2 up there, number 3. 5 miles equals blank feet. Well, we start with our 5 miles times, I have to know my ratio of feet to miles. If you look at your chart, you'll see that there are 5,280 feet in 1 mile. So this was my ratio. So now my problem is 5 times 5,280. Again, I don't need to put the 1 underneath because we're going to get rid of it anyway. So if you multiply these, and I would multiply off to the side, you would get 26,400 feet. So 5 miles is equivalent to 26,400 feet. Okay. The next one has a fraction, but we treat the fraction just like a regular number. So 4.5 pounds, we want to find out how many ounces that would be. So 4.5 is just a number. We've been working with multiplying fractions, so we should be able to do this. So I start here with my 4.5 pounds, and I need a ratio of ounces to pounds. Notice on all of these, if I have pounds here, I put pounds on the bottom. If I have miles here, I put miles on the bottom. Yards, yards on the bottom. That's important because it'll help you set up the problem correctly. So I know there are 16 ounces in 1 pound. So now my problem is 4.5 times 16 over 1. This time I'm leaving the 1 on there because it's going to be a fraction problem. So 4.5 we change to an improper fraction, which is 9 halves, because 2 times 4 is 8, and 4 plus 1 is 9. Now we can multiply that by 16 over 1. This is a problem we've seen many of them and practiced many. I can cancel out to make it easier. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 16 divided by 2 is 8. So now my problem is 9 times 8 is 72. 1 times 1 is 1, and again, I don't need the 1. So up here, 4.5 pounds is the same as 72 ounces. So if you look back at all those problems, you notice really they are just multiplication problems. But the way I set them up, it'll help you when we get to more difficult problems. So every setup is that number times the ratio. That number times the ratio. That number times the ratio. So let's see how this side is different. Small units to large units. If I have 6 inches and I want to change it to feet, well, if you know your ruler, 1 foot is 12 inches, so 6 inches must be the same as a half of a foot. But again, let's call this number 1. This is the way we set it up. We multiply by the ratio. And I set my ratio up where my inches here and here are across from each other. So put your unit at the bottom. Okay, so 1 foot equals 12 inches. So let's see what our problem looks like now. It looks like this, 6 times 1/12. Okay, how do I solve that? I'm going to put a 1 under my 6, and I could say 6 times 1 is 6, 1 times 12 is 12, and that's the same as 1/2. Okay, so 6 inches equals 1/2 foot. Let's look at number 2. 5 feet equals how many yards? All right, there's my 5 feet times, I know there are 3 yards in 1 foot. That's the ratio. Okay. Whoops, I think I goofed up here. There is 1 yard for every 3 feet. That would have gotten me the wrong answer because now this number really we could treat as a fraction. It's 1/3. So the problem is 5 times 1/3. That's a lot different than 5 times 3 over 1. So if I want to, I could put a 1 under this. Okay, so I have 5 times 1 is 5. 1 times 3 is 3. That's an improper fraction, so really this is a division problem. It means 5 divided by 3. 3 goes into 5 once, your remainder's 2, and your denominator stays the same. So 5 feet is the same as 1 2/3 yards. We can do the same thing for tons and pounds. 6,000 pounds equals how many tons? Well, I know you know that there is 2,000 pounds for every 1 ton. But look at what I did here. I set this up incorrectly. I'd get the wrong answer because this is a problem where I would just take 6,000 times 2,000. That's going to get me the wrong answer. Because my pounds have to be at the bottom and my tons have to be at the top, I want these two to be diagonal from each other. So now I'll put my 1 up here and my 2,000 down here. So the problem becomes 6,000 times 1 over 2,000. Okay, and in order to solve this, I'll put a 1 under that. I'm going to cancel out all these zeros. 3 zeros are here. I'm going to cancel them out. 3 zeros are here. I cancel them. I can do that. It's like dividing by 1,000. 2 goes into 2 once, 2 goes into 6 3 times. So what I have left is 3 times 1 is 3, 1 times 1 is 1, and 3 over 1 is the same as 3. So 6,000 pounds equals 3 tons. And that should make sense because if 1 ton equals 2,000 pounds, then 2 tons would equal 4,000 pounds, and then 3 tons would equal 6,000 pounds. All right, the last one, again, we're doing a fraction. But we should be able to treat the fraction number like all other numbers. It's just a fraction. So I'm going from quarts to gallons. So I start with my number, 5 3/4, times my ratio. Since this was quarts, I have to put quarts down here. And so gallons will go on top. Remember, these two have to be diagonal in order to set it up correctly. So I know 1 gallon is equivalent to 4 quarts, 1 to 4. So my problem now is 5 3/4 times 1/4. Here we've seen these problems. It's a mixed number times a fraction. I change my mixed number into an improper fraction. 4 times 5 is 20. Plus 3 is 23. So this is 23/4 times 1/4. Looks like I can't cancel out going across. So 23 times 1 is 23. 4 times 4 is 16. I notice my numerator is greater than my denominator, so I have to change this into a mixed number. 16 goes into 23 once. My remainder would be 17. Oh, 7 I mean. And my denominator stays the same. So it is 1 and 7/16 gallons is equivalent to 5 3/4 quarts. Thanks, sugar gliders. Have a great night.